All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. We're going to get started here in just a minute or two and let everyone jump on, and then we'll get started with our session. All right. Well, as everyone is getting settled, I want to welcome you to our session. We're very excited to be able to welcome you to tonight to discuss our Master of Arts in Music Industry program. This is definitely one of our most popular programs, so we're excited to be able to potentially welcome you into this fantastic group. We are going to cover a lot of information, but before we do that, I do want to discuss a few housekeeping items. Just to start, my name is Liz. I'm one of our senior enrollment advisors here. So I would be one of your contacts as you're considering our program. So just excited to be able to join you today. To start, this session is going to be about an hour. We understand that your time is very valuable. We want to be courteous to that. So if for any reason you have to leave, totally understandable. You are going to get a recording at the end of this session and should be coming to you hopefully by early next week. So just be looking for that. It's a great opportunity to go back and catch up on anything you might have missed, or if you just want to rewatch some things and check out some of the content that was covered, you can absolutely do that. In addition, we are going to do a Q&A today. We've got a lot of guests joining us today, both faculty as well as alumni from the program. But we also want to make sure that we get your specific questions answered. So there is going to be a Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to utilize that, where you can send us any questions, and we'll certainly do our best to try to answer those for you today. But we also want to make sure that this session is really geared towards the content of the program, utilizing both our faculty and students so that you can really dive into this program. So if you have admissions related questions such as financial aid, application deadlines, criteria to apply, you can contact one of our enrollment advisors at that information listed on your screen. You can give us a call, email, you can utilize the chat feature, whatever is better for you is perfect, and we would love to connect with you on that individual level. So with that being said, I do want to turn it over to Rachel Hanusa, who is our director of the program. Rachel, I'll turn it over to you if you want to introduce everyone, and then we'll get started.
All right, thank you so much. So today we have on our faculty side, we have Ray Sanchez, who's the Associate Dean for Strategic Initiatives and Innovation and the chair and a professor in the Department of Music, Media, and Industry. And we have Serona Elton, who is Associate Dean for Administration for Frost and also Professor and Director of the Music Industry Program. So these are two individuals you would be interacting with on a regular basis and taking a number of courses from them. On our alumni panel side, we have Michelle Amirali, who's a president and artistic director of Broadway Kids Studio, Theodore Zadler, who's financial aid processor, Danielle Flores, artist producer, member of the duo band Costa City, and Andrea Jennings, founder of Shifting Creative Paradigms, disability and accessibility strategist with C-Talent at Whaler, and co-founder and founding member at RAMPD. So thank you everyone for being here. We're really excited to hear from you. I'm going to jump into some questions right now, starting with faculty. So Serona, I'll start with you. Can you tell us a bit about your role within the University of Miami and how you interact with the online students?
Sure, my pleasure. So within the university and specifically within the Frost School, I actually wear two hats. So I direct the music industry program, which means I oversee all the curriculum and all the activities we do with our students, really just running the program. And I also happen to wear another hat, which is the Associate Dean of Administration at the Frost School of Music, which actually means I oversee the school's operations. And so that means all of our class scheduling, concert halls, recording studios, classroom spaces, all that kind of stuff. But that's aside from why I'm here. I am here because of my role with the music industry program. And in addition to being the director of the program, I am a professor in the program. So students in our online program, just like in our on-campus program, will be interacting with me in several courses. They might also be interacting with me at virtual events. And any other kinds of communications we might have via email, or if you set up a phone call or something, the way you would normally interact with somebody who's the head of your academic program.
All right, thank you. And Ray, the same question for you. Tell us about your role and how you interact with our online students.
So yeah, just like Professor Elton, I wear a number of hats at the Frost School. I'm part of the administration, and actually, as part of my dean duties, Frost Online was really the first initiative that we developed, going back quite a few years now. 12 years, Rachel? I can't remember exactly. Yeah, that far. So that's been exciting to be part of the process. But I'm in the Department of Music, Media, and Industry. I'm actually on the faculty of the music industry program. And the courses that I teach in Frost Online are same courses that I teach on campus as well. In fact, pretty much do them exactly the same way. The courseware that you see online on the screen in front of you, actually my on-campus students are seeing exactly the same thing. And the only difference is that our face-to-face discussions are in class as opposed to on Zoom. But otherwise, pretty much I can say truly that I just have one way of teaching, and it's pretty much the same whether it's on campus or online. And I always really enjoy particularly meeting the online students where maybe they're just a name on a screen or something, and then I go to a conference or something and wow, there they are in person. That's a wonderful thing, because as far as we're concerned, these are Frost School of Music students, and you're part of the community once you come here.
Great, thank you. All right, I'm going to turn to our current students and alumni and ask a two-part question. So I'll start with you, Michelle. Why did you choose University of Miami and the Frost School of Music for your online graduate program? And what sets this program apart from others that you may have considered?
Hello, thank you, Rachel. Good to see everybody. Well, I did my undergrad at the University of Miami Frost. I graduated in 2001. And doing musical theater and starting my own business, I really took value in the professors that I had for my undergraduate degree. So one of the main reasons I chose it, was the caliber of professors and the school. I do think the University of Miami Frost School of Music is like no other. The connections you make with the professors and the network, if you continue it, it's really a lifelong network. You know, it does feel like a family. It does feel like a community. And you're always challenged in a positive way. So for me, I had nothing but a very positive experience with my undergraduate degree. I was lucky enough to do some tours, do Broadway, start my own business, you know, all of that fun stuff, and then start a family. So when I was looking for an online program, I did look at several others that were, you know, comparable. My loyalty does lie at the U, mainly because I do feel the quality is superb. And I do feel that South Florida specifically does have a beautiful melting pot of all ranges in music and collaborations that really go worldwide. For me, the scheduling was fantastic. You know, as a mom of two, a wife, and a business owner, I work on average close to 70 to 75 hours every week. So I felt it was extremely organized the way it was set up for Frost Online for somebody, especially who's not there. You know, I am in Broward County, so I could always jump in and visit if I really wanted to and take that traffic. But I was a true online student, and I was able to adapt my personal schedule to Frost Online's, and I felt it was fantastic. So the combination of the professors and the ability to be flexible with my schedule was really the main reason I chose Frost Online.
Great, thank you. Daniel, I'm going to turn to you with the same question. Why did you choose this program, and what did you feel set it apart from others?
Sure. Well, thank you, Rachel. It's honestly, it's been a wonderful, great experience to be at the U. I actually, I enrolled during 2020, and we all know what 2020 meant for the planet. And so in this process, actually, I've been here in Miami. I live here in Miami. I've been here for about 4 years, but I came from California. While I was in California working, I was already looking into, I was exploring, you know, enrolling into a master's program. And so work finally got me here in Miami. In 2020, I decided to really make that leap forward in my education. And so while I was exploring different programs, I found that had the master's in music industry program. The curriculum itself was very relevant to what's happening in the industry. I'm a musician. I'm a producer. I'm a music supervisor. I wear many hats, and it's one of those things that you do in the industry. And so, as I was looking through the program, I saw how much value there was in the investment that the school has done to the program and what I was going to attain from it. So that was one of the main reasons. And as I started going through the courses, I got to know professors like Ray Sanchez and Sorona Elton, and they've been incredibly, their courses and the way they approach every single class has been amazing. So it's been a pleasure and it's been an honor to be part of this program.
Great, thank you. Andrea, what about you? Same question.
Well, I don't want to repeat what was already said because I totally agree. I echo everything that Michelle and Daniel said. I couldn't have said it any better. But, just to echo them and to follow up, I enjoyed my experience. So a little bit about my background is that I experienced a car accident on my way to work. I worked for a media conglomerate. And after that, I was welcomed into the world of being a disabled person. And I'm proud of that. So my mother worked for one of the top law firms, entertainment law firms globally, and she passed away, unfortunately. I wanted to take what she left me, that legacy, and I really felt like I wanted to, get my master's. I didn't want to get a law degree at that point in time. So I researched schools and I found this wonderful program, looked at some of the alumni. I was a fan of one of the musicians that graduated from here, a jazz musician, and really saw that this was the most comprehensive full program that gave me the options for different electives. And it was very, very similar to what it aligned with my goals, my vision and my mission. And that was to create accessible experiences for people like myself that wanted to be not only a musician, but wanted to arm themselves with the latest knowledge of business procedures and knowledge. And so when I first started, I had one way of looking at business. And after taking some classes, I actually really changed. It caused me to really look and think deeper. So the program is excellent. The curriculum was excellent. And I had a great time with my professors, exploring different ways to make the program more accessible for me. And so that was really important. And even when I was on the phone talking to Rachel, just knowing that we didn't have all this figured out, but they were open and speaking about belonging. That was so important to me, that I felt like I belonged not just to my classes, but to the university, and that I would be accepted even though I did classes a little differently online. So they told me from the beginning that you're taking the same classes, and I just felt very welcome. And that's the kind of work that I do now: diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging. And so it really spoke to what I believed in.
Thank you. Theodore, I want to hear from you as well. Why did you choose this program? What brought you to us?
Well, first off, greetings, everyone. Thank you for having me. I will shamelessly echo what my colleagues have said. It's been just an absolute amazing ride. I realized actually yesterday that I'll be embarking on the last course of the program, and that's actually really bittersweet. It's just one of those things that you kind of wish don't end. And I'm like Daniel in a lot of ways. I started pursuing my master's in 2020, And I, in my intro, on the intro screen, it says that I work as a financial aid processor. So I help a lot of other people go to school. And I also have experience on the admissions side as well. So I've always been someone who's been really big into helping others better themselves, whatever that looks like. And so 2020 hits and I say to myself, why not me? Why I've always wanted my master's. Why can't I go and pursue that? And I was looking for something that was really up to date, really, really hip in the scene, so to speak, really just knowledgeable about everything that's going on. And just everything that I've looked at on the Frost School of Music website, not just the music industry program, but just across the whole music spectrum, really hasn't disappointed. I'm getting more and more sad that I was an online student. I really wish I had the means to travel to Miami and pursue my master's in person. I think that just would have been the cherry on the cake. But it's been a wonderful ride, and the program really spoke. I really enjoy how the professors interact. Every course I've taken has been really scintillating, really challenging. And I say that as someone who really doesn't have a background in music business. I'm more of a performer, as a keyboardist, more of a choral composer. And so this is kind of seeing the back end of that process when it comes to publishing your compositions or getting those copyrights or knowing what to look for in recording agreements and the like. And just the resources on top of the classes is just like spot on, top notch. I need to stop because I'll keep going on, but it's absolutely wonderful. So I want to thank you guys again, Professor Elton, Professor Sanchez. This has been a magical ride, and I look to staying in touch. And thank you guys so much.
Thank you. That's great to hear. All right, back to faculty. So Ray, how is the curriculum for this online degree designed? And how would you say it's different from other music industry programs?
Well, that's a great question. I think Professor Elton can also chime in on this, since she's had such a big part in the current version of the curriculum. But I'm kind of the oldest one here, so I can be the historian a little bit. We're proud to rightfully claim that we started this whole thing. We are the fountainhead of music industry education, probably in the world, certainly in the US. As far as we can tell, the first student was admitted here in 1966 in music industry education. So that's kind of crazy, but pretty cool. But what's interesting is that since that time, and the very first director that we had came from the publishing business, albeit in his case, the print publishing business. I don't know if any of you is aware of this, but that guy, Alfred Reed, not only was he a famous wind ensemble composer, he was the creative director at Hanson Music, who had the Beatles print catalog. So, this guy had equally well-versed on the classical side as on the pop side. And very, very, very focused from the very beginning on copyright, rights administration, publishing, that type of thing. And that in many ways has informed our program. Over the years, we've always had a bit of an emphasis on that side of the business, and it became very relevant in the modern era after streaming overtook physical product, because now effectively everything is publishing of some kind. A record label is essentially a publisher, albeit of a different kind of product, but licensing is still licensing, and it's still important to understand the rights involved and who owns what and the flow of money. And we've been good at that over the years, at focusing on that. I think we're better now than we've ever been because of the faculty that we have, like Professor Elton. So that's a key component. And the other part is that historically, the people that have taught in our program have all come from industry. There really is no one, I can't think of anyone that has ever taught in this program at all that has come from academia. Everyone has come from industry. all the way from the beginning. And I hope it continues that way for generations to come, because I think that's what makes the program relevant. Then the other thing, of course, is that we made a conscious decision at the very beginning that there would be no difference between online and on campus other than mode of instruction, but that the programs would be the same program. No watered down versions, nothing. It's what you see in your online program is what you would get on campus. So the only difference is, of course, you can't hang out with me at the table in front of the classroom beforehand, but we can hang out in other ways. So that's it. And I actually would pass it over to Professor Elton, who would have a lot more to say about this, probably.
Yeah, I'll just chime in with a couple of nuggets. I think if you look at our list of courses in our curriculum, what you'll see is, here's what you won't see. You won't see a class about streaming, because you don't teach a class about streaming. You teach a class about how recordings are created, distributed, and consumed, and streaming is one of those ways. But what we teach is much more broad and more grounded in all of the diversity of the industry. Our courses, we've done this really smartly, right? You can imagine universities have lots of red tape. So if you want to spin up a new class called streaming, that's a zillion approvals. And then what happens when we need a class on virtual reality? That's another zillion approvals, right? We don't do it that way. We have a class that's about copyright, a class that's about music publishing, a class that's about the record business. And every single time we teach those classes, we get to connect with exactly what's happening in that sector of the industry so that we stay current, right? So a lot of strategy went into the way we've designed and named these courses, and we keep them very current. The other thing I do just want to emphasize, is, and I was on today, literally, I'll put in the chat in a minute, doing some stuff on our LinkedIn alumni group. It is one group. There's no separate group for online versus on-campus students. It's one alumni group. You're all part of the same family. And I was just in New York at a conference 2 weeks ago called Mondo, and I took a picture that I have to put on social media. There were two students, both of whom work at Columbia Records, an iconic record label in New York. One did our online program, one did our on-campus program, and now they're like BFFs. And in their mind, they're like, we went through the same program. So I just can't emphasize enough how you become part of this same family. And you know what? During the school year, if you want to come down for a couple of days and attend a bunch of classes, it may not be in exactly like lined up with what you're learning in your online class, but all these classes run in person as well. And you can still come sit in and say hi and meet some fellow people, fellow students and your professors if you wanted to, right? In that, you are part of an organization that exists in real life at a real place with students who happen to take classes in person or online, but it's one big family. And so I was so amazed when both those students came up to me and they're like, we found each other, we're like super close friends, and in their minds, they did the same program. So I found it touching.
That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that. I want to come back to our alumni and students. Michelle, our faculty have real world experience, you've heard. Can you describe how this positively impacts the instruction you received and the interaction that you had with them?
Sure, I would love to. Professor Elton, Professor Sanchez. Ironically, Professor Sanchez was the first professor I had, and I had established my business already, but I did not have the business training. I had the music training. So he really helped me empower, I guess, my confidence into saying, hey, my thoughts are okay. Now this is just the steps you need to take it. And one of the main reasons I wanted to do my master's was a lot has changed in digital music. And I know where I lack experience, and it's mainly with copyright law and streaming, and all of that did not exist. I used Cakewalk and Finale in like 1999. So it wasn't anything that I could even understand now. It was like a different language. So starting with Professor Sanchez, he helped me kind of say, okay, what is your business doing and where can you go from here? And then I ended my course in March of 2020 with Professor Elton, right when everything happened. And they both really inspired me to take that next step with my business. If it wasn't for the classes that I took, ironically, I could not have saved my business in the virtual virtual world, because I do the curriculum for approximately 90 classes a week. And I had to instantaneously change into virtual. So I was coincidentally taking copyright law with, I believe it was a copyright class with Professor Elton, and I had taken copyright law with Professor Sanchez. So all that I had taken in the last year and a half was culminating in a panic, but it was culminating at March 2020. So I took everything I learned with my master's, especially with what can I stream, what can I not stream? Am I paying all the right royalties for, I knew the basics with MTI and Concord and Samuel French, but am I paying all the correct fees for what I am teaching now online, and what process can I take to get there? And the excellent part of doing your master's online is that you still have access to all the materials. So there's no way I could memorize all the copyright laws and what I can and can't do. And I know that if I send them an email, I can do things that way and say, hey guys, can you help me out here? Professor Sanchez answered definitely a few emails on my end. And I could go back to my notes. I can go back to the books that I have and all the references that they gave me. So they really took my business to the next level at a time where especially the music industry just kind of paused, and the live entertainment completely paused, because I could no longer produce any live shows. I had to figure out, okay, I'm doing Be More Chill. Who do I have to pay? What is the streaming law for this? Because we were all learning it as we went along. So I was very lucky that I had them in my back pocket per se, because I felt like I had backup. I felt like, okay, I'm not going to panic. Everybody's going through this, but they are the experts regardless. We're just now transitioning to streaming, and what can I take? And I can only use 80% for education, and I can only use 20% for this. So that knowledge really helped save my business and save my sanity, quite frankly. And it's all because I started and ended with probably the two strongest professors I could have.
Great, thank you for sharing that. Andrea, I want to turn to you. Can you tell us a bit about what your career path has been? I know you've talked a little bit about it, but how did the degree give you a leg up on your job prospects or job search?
Thank you. Very similar to what Michelle said, just the fact that we already know that we're armed with a team of professionals makes you feel really confident. And these team of professionals were very comforting to me. And by the way, for those who are watching, this isn't just some performative panel. I literally keep in touch with Professor Sanchez, like literally. I've met him in person. We have, shared talks, and I really feel like I can just reach out, like he's part of my network. So just like Michelle, as somebody who founded a business, that's really important. Like I'm coming out of the door with a network. Same thing with Rachel. I keep in touch with her through social media. We've met in person. And so it really is like a family. And it didn't just stop there when we met. They've invited me to other things. I just couldn't make it, but they're just like, welcoming me with welcome arms. And the same thing with Professor Elton. Same thing, like we are in some of the same circles. I was a speaker at Music Managers Forum, and when I was in the green room, I think everybody was talking about how wonderful she is. And I'm just listening and I'm like, I know her, so this is not about bragging, but really telling you that this is a real family. And so it was the next best thing besides attending, in person. So my pathway, and I was telling them earlier, I really had a great pathway, and I want to give this pathway, I want to start a pipeline so that others can follow in my pathway. I was a student just like everyone else, a lady with a dream, very similar to Michelle. So I live in the intersection of government, digital enterprise, and music. And do you know that this degree literally has prepared me for all three things? I could actually develop curriculum because of the arts part in the nonprofit education that I received. I can work well in government. I'm the chair of the Accessibility and Disability Commission in my city, for the city of Pasadena. On the business and digital enterprise side, I work for a talent agency, and we have some musicians. So, I mean, there's like nothing, and I'm not just saying this, there is really nothing that I'm not prepared for. It helps build that confidence and know that I may not know everything, right? But I know a little bit about some things because of the entertainment industry, not just the music, but it's a full comprehensive program. But I went from starting my own disability and accessibility business to intersecting with music and arts and programs and curriculum. And I bring arts wherever I go. So I integrate it into everything that I do. Another thing I want to say and leave off with this is that I remember one of my professors, I'm not sure who, said that YouTube, that everybody should really think about getting a YouTube, that it was going to be like the next best thing. Yep, it was. So working with industry professionals that are already in the industry, they're giving you a lot of heads up on a lot of things, and listen to them, because that really made me not only look like, but really, I really was someone who was armed with knowledge that I could use for the future. And it really set me up for my career.
Great, thank you. Theodore, I want to turn to you. How have you received support from Frost and UM throughout your experience in the program, whether it's academic resources, faculty, staff, whoever it may be, or your peers as well?
Short answer is I simply ask. If you don't ask, you don't receive. And when I ask, I receive abundantly. So I'm always very thankful for that. But I'm also cognizant of the fact that as I go through the biographies of the professors of the course, I look at the background specifically, and I kind of try to place myself in similar shoes. And as I go through the course, what I've always been enamored with is that there's recent articles, or there's relevant materials in addition to the course basics, the not the basics, that's the wrong word, the course essentials. And so going back to just learning from professionals, you're learning from people who are actually in the industry, and those resources will never become irrelevant. They will, if anything, they will just improve as the industry moves and meanders the way that it does. So for me, it's always about asking. It's always about trying to stay relevant and trying to receive the most relevant materials, just so I can stay relevant with what the industry does.
Thank you. And Daniel, I'm going to ask you the same question about the support you've received throughout your program so far.
Yeah, the support has been incredible. The other day, I emailed Professor Elton some questions about royalties, and she was able to get back to me over Imagine during the weekend. And so that type of communication and that type of energy that the professors impart to the students is exactly what you need as you're going through the course. The same way with Professor Sanchez, we all took copyright law with him, and he was always accessible, always available for the students. And honestly, it was a beautiful start to the program, taking the copyright law for many reasons. I mean, it's the fundamentals of the music industry. So, and you know, as I'm hearing all these stories from Andrea, Michelle, it's like the music industry is like a big ocean, and is just a lighthouse. It really just brings a lot of truth to what we're doing. I know as a producer and as a musician, Many times we're learning the industry by what we're hearing from our mentors or how certain companies do their processes. But being able to go through the master's program, I really understood how it should be done and how business should be conducted in the industries, which is exactly what I needed.
Awesome, thank you. And back to faculty for 2 final questions. So the first question is going to be for Sirona. What would you describe are the qualities or habits of successful students in the online program?
So I think you have to be really good at time management. You know, because you're so busy. Like, let's be honest, most of the folks I think we've ever had through this program have a lot of other things going on, right? Whether it's family and a full-time job. And for what it's worth, also, I actually went to law school part-time at night while working a full-time job. So I know what that's like, right? So you have a lot of things going on. And so this kind of program, to succeed in this program, you have to be really good at time management, and you have complete flexibility in terms of when you do the work, but I would say you have to put it in your calendar and schedule yourself some dedicated time to do the coursework so that you can keep up and succeed. And, you know, many have, many do. Here's great examples on this Zoom session. But I think in terms of the kind of person, you know, that we're looking for is passion, right? This industry is not simple. It's not easy. It's very complicated. It's very competitive, right? It's not like a fallback. That kills me when people like tell somebody who wants to be a musician, oh, study the music industry is a fallback. I'm like, it's not a fallback field, okay? It's a very competitive field where you can do really well, but you know, you have to bring it, you know? So you need passion, because that passion is going to get you through, you know, the challenges, the complexities, the fact that you might, if you go and get to a stage where you're applying for jobs, hundreds of people apply for these jobs. And yet our alumni get great jobs, but you know, you have to have the passion to get you through that. So I would say in terms of who are good candidates for the program, people who are really passionate about music, have decided that, you know, trying to make a living, their primary living as a performer may not be the right answer, but they want to be in super close proximity to music somehow, right? That's the kind of ideal sweet spot candidate for us. And then it has to be somebody who can carve out some amount of time every week. You decide the day and the time, but you need to carve out some time to like shut everybody out after the kids go to bed, whatever it is, and just focus to get through the coursework. So those would be my answer.
Thank you. And Ray, I know Sirona mentioned jobs, so I want to just ask you, what are some of the different paths that you've seen graduates embark upon after completing the program?
Yeah. So first, I just want to double down on what Sirona just said about setting aside that time, because the good news is that it's the same curriculum we do on campus. The bad news is it's the same curriculum we do on campus. So there's no slack being cut for anybody. And in a compressed format of 7 weeks, yes, you can get through the degree program faster, but that just means you just have to make that commitment. In my experience, the people that are passionate about this business and just wanting to be around music, somehow wanting to have a professional life in music. That's the way I like to say it, okay? It is a passion. You're not considering this or nursing school. If you are, then please don't do this at all, because this is just not for you. It's very specific to a certain kind of person, and that means you have to commit the time. That being said, this is what's interesting. Our alums are just quite literally in every corner of the music business. Daniel here is basically me 25 years ago or so, because I was full-time producer, musical director, doing basically all the stuff he does now. And I ended up in this other path, but that was by choice. Most people in my position would have gone to work inside the industry. So we have alums in record labels, in performing rights organizations, in publishers, in live entertainment of all kinds, on the creative side, on the business side, on the marketing side, everywhere. I mean, honestly, I don't know that there is any corner of the music and entertainment industry where there is not a Frost School of Music alum.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well,
There
I
isn't,
wanna
and now on
thank-
that page we shared in the chat, I'll just say we added in the chat, if you didn't see it, a link to this page on our website that we're updating, and you can just see the list of companies. And literally, we just spun up that website page today. So check back in like a week, and there'll be another 60 names on there. Not because we've graduated 60 people in the next week, but because we're actually compiling it. But you can get a sense of, you know, the kinds of jobs, the kinds of companies. So do check out that website.
Thank you. And I want to thank everyone on the panel. So thank you to faculty and our alumni and students. And I'm going to turn it back now to Liz.
All right. Thank you so much, Rachel. And thank you all again so much for being here. I love these sessions. You get so much out of it. I know I leave just with a ton of nuggets of information. And then it's just always rewarding to be able to hear more, you know, about the experiences that our students, current students, and alumni experience. So I do appreciate all of the insight that you've shared tonight with those who are considering the program, those who are joining us live, and those who will watch it later. If you are watching, I definitely want to encourage you to join this fantastic group as being part of the program. We are currently accepting applications for the spring beginning January 9th, and our early admissions deadline is coming up on Monday, November 7th. So make sure you get that application in. It's free to apply. So there's nothing stopping you. In addition, we do want to, just as a way of saying thank you for attending, we want to be able to offer you our $300 deposit waiver fee. So that will be applied to your application should you choose to move forward with that. Again, make sure you get your applications in early. If you have any questions about what items we need, financial aid, we do offer what we call tuition waivers to every student who's admitted. So be sure to contact an enrollment advisor like myself, and we would love to connect with you further. And then, of course, on your screen, you will see that link to start the application. Again, that does wrap up our session. I do want to thank you all for joining us today and hope you all have a great evening.
Bye, everyone.
I guess we'll just go.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone. Good
Yeah.
to see you guys.
Bye.
Nice to meet you.
Ciao.